Welcome to my podcast, Bathrobe Conversations with Black Women. I am so excited to be here today. I am here with,
I gotta say your name.
Oh, first I'm Rona. I am Rona Muhammad. Thank you. That's why you have good girlfriends. I'm Rona Muhammad, and I am here in Las Vegas. It's my birthday weekend, and I am recording a podcast that is 14 years in the making. And I'm just so humbled and ecstatic and excited. And this is just really a natural, informal podcast, right? I can't do all the structured stuff. I have to just be myself. And so hoping that that's going to give, you all the permission to be yourself. So now, this beautiful woman sitting to my right, your left, like I was starting to say, I'm super proud to say that she is one of my very best girlfriends. And she is a powerhouse. And I want to introduce you all to Miss Nick Cobra Johnson. Welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited.
Yes, you're doing it. I am.
You need a
Yes,
glass,
I
girl. Turn it up. Turn
Yes.
it up.
Toast.
This is wonderful.
Toast,
This
toast,
is
toast.
wonderful. You are stepping out on faith, and we are stepping out right with you, girlfriend.
Well, thank you. So I want to get started. In all of my podcasts, I'm going to start, because it is Bathrobe Conversations with Black Women.
Yes.
So my very first question to my very best girlfriend is, I want to know, what is your experience as a Black woman?
What is my experience as a Black woman? I really think it's amazing. I think it's a superpower. I do realize that God could have put me anywhere on the planet at any time of the, in all of the years that the world has existed, and He chose to make me a Black woman from Oakland, California. And that makes me light up. I feel very empowered. I know that everybody has an experience, has ups and downs, but I really feel that I feel empowered being a woman. I feel empowered being a Black woman, and knowing that everything that I do, I deserve. Because there's so many obstacles out there that say that, you're really not supposed to, graduate. You're really not supposed to have a business. You're really not supposed to. And so I know that I've earned and I am worthy. And that's what my experience as a Black woman is.
And I'm so happy. Again, I'm going to probably say happy 1,000 times. And the reason why I asked that question, Nick, is because there's this, assumption that all Black women have the same experience, right? We all think the same, we do the same things, we act the same way, and we don't. That doesn't make us, better or more or less. It's just our experience, right? And it's just, in some areas it's the same, and then some areas it's not.
Right.
And it's okay.
Absolutely.
So I refer to Nick as a powerhouse, and I wanted to start with my very first introduction of her, and that would be by this book. And this book is CEO of My Soul. Nick is an author, and that's how I was introduced to her. And I read this book, and this book, she walks through her life as a Black woman trying to do something that we don't experience being done, which is to be an entrepreneur, to not only just be an entrepreneur but be a boss, right? She wanted to open up a spa, like a full service spa, but a series of, or a chain. And then and on top of that, she talks about in this book her experiences on her personal journey and her professional journey and how they intertwine.
Right.
And it normalized a lot of things for myself that I thought I was crazy. And then I read this book, and then I realized I wasn't crazy.
Well, we think we are singular. We feel alone when you're having a bad experience. I think that is it, and that isolation feels crazy. It feels like, gee, everyone else got it going on. They got the 2.5 kids and the marriage and the this and that, and so, you know, that is really my secret sauce, is that I just share all my business because I know everybody else is going through it too. I mean, that's the thing. It's so hard to keep a facade up.
Absolutely.
And people struggle. And so being transparent, being vulnerable with yourself, people constantly ask me, how do you talk about divorce? How do you talk about, getting a business, but losing a business, restarting? How do you talk about struggles with your kids? And the first thing I say is, well, I don't reveal it until I heal it. I am not an exhibitionist. I don't sensationalize.
You're going to have to repeat that for the people in the back.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. You don't reveal it until you heal it.
So, this book, Jiminy Cricket, I wrote it 6 years ago, although it took almost 6 years to write. But the events that took place were almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
And so you need some reflection. And I tell people, when I wrote it, it was after my business had closed, and I started in a place of extreme pain. Mm-hmm. So when I look back through my notes, the reason it took 6 years was that first book, you wouldn't be talking about it. It's just like a lot of cuss out sessions, like cumulative cussing out. Like, right. That's not a book. But well, maybe it's probably a rap album. So
okay.
But it allowed some reflection. Mm-hmm. It allowed some healing, because at first I thought I was just going to tell people how to put a business together. But I was going through decimation of another relationship. Like I said, the business has closed, and I was to say the least, I was in my feelings. But when my grandmother used to say, give time. Mm-hmm. And, the process that I went through to learn from the things that had happened, and to really forgive myself for mistakes that I feel that I made. And I own them. People are like, oh, you never make a mistake, you make a lesson. That's not true.
Right.
Like, I do make mistakes. That's crazy.
And it's
you
okay.
You do make mistakes. And it is okay, as long as you learn and grow and say, okay, what was that experience supposed to tell me? And then you pivot and you move on. So that is why I think this book has touched as many people as it has. It's because there is this arc.
Right. That's correct.
Of a journey. And so I can look back and I analyze myself within the book. Mm-hmm. So you get this, like, okay, I get it. I understand. Like, do not go down this road. And I'm proud.
And I have to say to you, I'm sure when you talked about the things that are in the book were, happened 20 years ago, it was 6 years in the making. And I have to tell you, this book and me being able to hold it and touch it was the tangible example that I needed to start the journey of writing my own book, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's why it's so important for us to do exactly what we're doing right now. Yes. We have to allow our voices to be heard. We have to be the example. And part of my anxiety of doing this podcast is I'm always thinking about, I don't want to say something to offend someone. I don't want to, be disrespectful even to my family if something comes out in this podcast with me sharing my own journey that might offend someone, my family members. But I learned that my journey, my story is mine.
It's all yours.
And my speaking my truth may offend someone, but that doesn't mean that it's still not my truth.
Well, I will tell you, one of the best things that I got when you're writing a biography, I did my disclaimer. Now, I'm a lawyer too. I'm an author, but I'm a lawyer. And I have not been sued ever about this book. So now what I say is I did change names, but I had a girlfriend that said, well, if anybody ever talked to you about it, you tell them they should have acted better so you would have written it better.
I like that. And I agree.
It's true because I feel it, like we have children. I wrote about my relationships. Obviously, I have children that were impacted, but guess what? They lived through the foolishness too. And they both read it, as they've gotten older, and they're very proud. So again, you teach through being honest.
That's exactly right.
You teach through being transparent.
That's
and
exactly
guess what?
right.
Kids live through it. I was just talking to someone else about that. It's like we believe that they are, because they don't say anything, they don't see anything. That's crap.
Right.
They hear everything. They know when you're happy and they know when you're sad. And so you do know honor by being fake about things that they know
That's
are
exactly
going
right.
on,
Yes. And I mean, I love the fact that you communicated that your sons read the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about or ask you, what has been your experience raising, two young Black men?
It's one of I will be very honest, it has been a rewarding experience. It has been a challenging experience. It has been humbling because we a lot of our identity as women, if you have kids, are in child rearing. Whether we label ourselves, you're either a good parent, your children go on and are at the top of their class. Are you a bad parent if they're not? Are you a good parent if they marry X, Y, and Z? Are you a bad parent if they don't?
Right.
I'm like, that's too much pressure, and it's crazy.
Absolutely.
And it's too
it's
too controlling. So, I start with my faith. My belief in God is always that I bring children into this world and they have their own assignment. And so I just do what I can to give them the tools to go out and achieve and do the assignments that they were given. And I say that as a person, I am very aware I'm a control freak. I am very conscientious of, I want my kids to do certain things. But when it's all said and done, if they are growing and going through this journey, then I've done my job. And if they find themselves, if they find God within the process of their ups and downs, then I think that I fulfilled an assignment. Am I a good mom? Am I a bad mom? I don't know. But I feel like I am fulfilling my assignment to be a mom and to give these Black sons education. When I was pregnant, I rubbed my belly every day and I said, happy, healthy, smart. And I really, I believe that on a superficial level. Let me tell you, when your kids do something that is not making them happy, but you think they should, when they come back and say, Mom, I thought you wanted me to be happy. That's a big old check.
Right.
Check to your ego to be like,
is.
all right, you're right.
That's
if
exactly
you are
right.
not happy, then follow your path.
Right.
You're gonna figure it out. And I'm no longer in the driver's seat of your life.
That's
I'm in the
exactly
back seat with chips and wine. Okay? So you want to go down that road? As long as you can pay for the gas,
That's exactly
I am very happy.
And the insurance.
And the insurance. And get them tires changed. But that is the only thing. But I believe it has made me, being a parent of Black boys, there's a certain amount of strength that comes with that, because a lot is thrown at them that's not even thrown at women. And so some of the things that I've had to experience, I experienced it for the first time
with them.
with my kids,
That's exactly
where I
right.
never had a close and personal experience with it. So,
I mean, I know for me, you know, having two sons, I'm challenged with managing my anxiety, letting them go off and be, you know, the young men that we attempted to the best of our abilities to rear them to be.
yes.
I want to know, how do you manage, or do you, first of all, have some of those same anxieties? And if you do, how do you manage those?
I pray a lot.
Right.
I do. I pray when I get in my intense feelings. So I haven't. This is really hitting home for me because my oldest son, he graduated from college and he went to law school, and I believe I have his permission to say he absolutely hated it. I mean, with every fiber of his damn being, he absolutely hated it. And that was the most recent example of me believing fervently that he should do X. This is going to give him more opportunities in life. It's going to help him as a black man to know the law, and he pulled over and he's got Esquire, all these things. But fundamentally, he's like, Mom, I am miserable. I am miserable. And I had to the point where he did not say life and death miserable, but a mother knows, like, this is not the right path.
Right.
And me pushing, guess what happens? All that does is he rejects our relationship. He can't. It's about me. I'm making it about me. It ain't about me.
Right. Right, Nick.
It ain't about me. And so when we parent from the place of respect and true faith that God has a plan for my children, I believe that. I don't know what it is.
Right. Well, right.
I don't know what it is.
Right.
But I believe that it will all work out because I looked at my own life. So if God didn't leave me, and if I ultimately navigated through all my foolishness, He's not gonna leave my child out there because it's His child too.
Right. Well,
it's His child first.
Right.
So let me get back in order. It's His child.
Right.
So so that anchors me from having anxiety.
Okay.
Anxiety really is trying to control outcomes that are beyond your control.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And so that's where you really have to lean into your faith and giving time that space to work through all kinds of things and let them get it. Let them get it. You already learned the lesson. Let them get it, and fall back. And fall back.
I love that the last breath you just took and the fallback, because
I feel it,
and I'm learning, and I'm ready to feel it. And you know, my sons are 18 and 15, so with the 18-year-old, I'm rapidly approaching that moment of having to fall back. And so I love that. You also, in your fabulous book, that is my Bible, I promise you all. I highlighted so many things. Nick was very honest and transparent about your relationship journey, and being married, and then being divorced, and then being married. And then I'm going to let you finish that journey. Because as someone who was married and was married for a long time, and I've been divorced for a long time, you know, I'm now preparing myself because I would love to be married again.
Yes.
And there's a lot of activity that's happening in my brain about, you know, what are my expectations from this person? I'm also approaching 50 next year. And so looking to be married at this age versus in our 20s are 100% different. I mean, I'm not only making space for someone, physical space, I'm making mental space. Like, do I have the bandwidth to listen to someone talking to me all day and sharing their opinions when I might not necessarily want them to? Do I have the bandwidth that, you know, the toilet seat might not be the way I like it, or the water spots off the sink, because I never attach negative connotations to who I am.
Yes.
Some people in the world call it OCD, but that's their business. So as I'm preparing myself for my next journey with a partner,
Yes.
those are all the things that I'm thinking about. And you who are celebrating,
So, my 5th anniversary
Yes.
with my forever
Yes.
boo.
yes, I love that.
So, listen, and like you have to read the books to know that he was very much a journey. A couple things came up for me that you were talking about. Relationships. So, my background, my parents are still married. This is like if I'm 51, this is their 53rd anniversary. They dated 5
Congratulations to
years
them.
before that. And I had I would say a perfect childhood. And I say perfect in air quotes, meaning I did not have trauma in my childhood. So they were my North Star. They really, I believed that all I had to do was find an amazing person and we could go through this life together.
Okay.
Now, when you marry that with a very controlling, highly ambitious spirit, which is Nicole, I do not stop until I get it right. And so I am the Elizabeth Taylor of Oakland, California girls. And I have been married multiple times. I am a very odd bird, right? In that. Now, I will tell you how I think I was able to get in and out of relationships. There are 2 things. I don't really have dogma in my life.
Okay.
So I was not raised in an especially religious household. I am Catholic. My dad was Catholic. I went to Catholic schools. We didn't go to church. We were the Easter and Christmas family. Looked really
That's
cute.
how I
Like
was.
we were laid. We were
I
tight.
think that's the blueprint for Catholicism.
Yes.
Especially Black Catholics.
Yes.
Like
that was it. So, but my mother is not religious. She says, I am spiritual, I pray. But so I say that when I was having troubles in my relationship, she would always say, if you're not happy, leave. I don't know a lot of Black mamas, our generations of mamas that do that. They make you devout. You made a promise, you stick with it, come hell or high water. And so having the strength of that kind of Black mama that says, I don't give a poop. Sorry, you can edit out my cussing. She gave me rosé all day, so I'm just saying. She gave me rosé all day.
I think poop is okay.
Yes, okay. I was trying to clean it up. The second one, maybe not so much. But so I had the paradigm of my parents, loved them, great people. I gotta get married. And then my mom's like, I didn't raise you to be mistreated. So if it's not working out, she always said, I know who I raised.
There's a point.
I didn't raise you to be mistreated. And I would go into these relationships so open and loving and
ready.
I'm like, and look, and ready to save. Like, oh my God,
Exactly
you want
right.
this? I can help you get a child care center. Oh, you want this? I can help you get a.
It's
oh,
like Coming to America. Whatever you like.
Whatever. And you know what? And whatever you could be. So I was never it was authentic to want to help because that is my DNA. But I would hide myself to uplift their program. And when they did not, or either when they got me and they were like, geez, I'm still miserable. They were still miserable. They thought I was going to be this little ray of sunshine to take all of their own mental loathing about themselves away. Didn't happen. And so then the relationship, I was like, I can't do this. Fast forward to 10 years ago. 10 years ago was my last failed relationship. And that was when I took inventory and said, "You the problem, bitch." Sorry, Rose all day. It's you. You pick people.
Right.
So
that's exactly.
You have to figure out, to a certain extent, like where did you get things wrong? And what I say in the book, and it really did happen, is I really did start to look deeper at myself and love deeper. Mm-hmm. My mom would say, love yourself a little bit more. She would always say that. I'm like, what do you mean? Of course exactly. I love myself. Of course.
Right.
But you have to actively, in your mind, body, spirit, you have to be consistent. And I will say, after that, I saw this gentleman. We went into business together. The story is long, but it's not necessary. But once I loved myself, he reflected the love that I authentically had for myself.
Come on. Forever boo. Come on, forever boo. I mean, that's why he's the forever boo.
Because I will forever love myself.
Absolutely.
I will forever stand up for myself. I will forever forgive myself.
Yes. Come on, Nick.
And he does those things because I do those things for myself. And I've learned how to do them. This morning, he and we had a very deep conversation about my own personal defect. I said, you know what? I'm going to share this with you. And it's because I am going to verbalize the thing that I have been hiding to myself.
I love it.
And he heard me and he affirmed me.
Come on.
And it was a safe space. And I grew even more. So when you ask, when you say, do you have the space to have someone else in? The topical things, okay, the dishwasher, he leaves the toilet seat up or whatever, he's not clean or whatever. But does he show up for God's assignment for you?
Come on.
Does he come into agreement with what God has put you here for? Or is he in resistance? I know that my husband not only is here for his own purpose, but he is also, his purpose is to keep me on track for mine. And that is so much more important than any of the other disagreements or topical thing. He touches my soul, and he knows that, girl, you got to get out there and you have got to do these things. They are hard, but you're tough. And I am so grateful that I know that this was the person that God gave me. The other folios were the person I gave. I picked.
Come on.
But
God, don't put that on God.
Once I opened up, and I never prayed for a man. So I told you about that 10 years. And I said, once I had started, like, okay, I think I'm getting my head together. I'm getting my stuff together. I said, you know what, God? I now know your love for me. I know what it feels like because I'm giving it to myself. I'm engaging, just going out in the world and feeling that. And I said, this was the only ever prayer is, I want you to send me someone that embodies your love for me.
Come on.
Because now I know what God's love is.
That's exactly
and I can see it, and it's reflected in how I treat myself.
That's exactly right.
And
that's
then
first.
Here's the secret sauce here. So I know what's the Viola came out, said she prayed for me, and Miss Sierra prayed, the Russell prayer, whatever.
Right.
Well, that was my Harold prayer. And then, but here's the thing, you got to surrender. You got to release. You can't keep obsessing about it like, God, where is he?
So the prayer part is easy. It's that part. What
Surrender.
You just said. Just
forget about
release.
It. And that'll be great.
And continue the process of what you already said, which was doing those things for yourself and arriving there with Nick.
Yes.
Not by yourself, but with yourself.
I never,
after,
I was always that girl that was in a relationship. The trapeze. I would never leave one until I had one. That trapeze love. So, but when I gave myself that ability to be by myself and save myself and walk myself through challenges, that's when I grew up, and I was able to have a partner that could do that for me. Once I saved my own self.
I love it. So in the final hour, or not hour, Lord, the final minutes of this podcast, so you all see why she is one of my best girlfriends. You see that, I know that you can probably sense just through her conversation that she is a coach, that she loves mentoring, because she coaches me all the time. We have this wonderful mutually beneficial exchange
Yes.
all the time, and I don't know, I mean, you know, it's easy, right? It's
Yes.
effortless between us.
Yes.
And I'm very appreciative of that. But I want my listening audience to hear about the boss, right? Because not only is she the CEO of her soul, right? She's taken that mentoring and coaching, and for years have been, you know, doing that with the SBA. Nick is based in the DMV, that's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Yes.
And she's been doing some tremendous work with the Small Business Association. I want you to talk a little bit about that, and then I want you to wrap up
Yes.
that with a beautiful bow and talk about the Bow Collective.
Yes, ma'am. Well, so first of all, we love each other for the same reason, and that's when you have to affirm. When you can look outside of yourself and see great spirits, that is a reflection of who you are. And so I look at you and I'm like, I feel good about myself. I got good girlfriends. It's all good. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, friend.
So yes, my God job, my big purpose is business, and I have been somewhere in the small business game for 20 years. This is my 20-year anniversary. I have not worked for anybody in 20 years.
Congratulations.
So I mean,
that's huge.
Now it's a journey.
Right.
Now that is, let's keep it real. It is not Instagram cool. Some of those days where I'm like, okay, come on, guy, come on, look. But I love I think the same reasons that, you know, we are friends are the same reasons that I love business owners. The entrepreneurial spirit is what God has called you to do. It's like you're trying to bring something that you feel in your spirit into the world that doesn't exist. And it's great. I love coaching. I love trying to give counsel and help people go through the ups and downs.
Right.
I couldn't do anything else if I tried. It's an amazing responsibility. So yes, I have coached over 200 businesses over the past 10 years.
Wow.
To going from, you know, 250 to $1 million firms, and so scaling business. So I like starting them, but I don't like starting stuff only. I like to finish. I like to help you scale. And so me and my firm, we really love doing that. And I love doing it so much that you mentioned the SBA. I served on a council. It's called the National Women's Business Council, and got lots of statistics about businesses, you know, for women. I sat on the Access to Capital subcommittee, and one report came across my desk that literally pissed me off so bad. And it talked about the gross annual sales of women-owned businesses. Wow. So when you look at us cumulatively, it's about 150. Asian businesses, 192 a year. White women, our white sisters, their businesses about the same. Hispanic, 100. Native American, 60 a year. Black women businesses are $24,000.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Obviously, you know, that statistic, we're not getting money to invest into our businesses, and that really made me angry. And so what do? What I do well is I do know how to bring people together.
Right.
Maybe for a party, but I do know. I know how. So I said, well, let's not party. Let's bring some business owners
Absolutely.
together.
Absolutely.
And so the Bow Collective, Black Owner and Women's Collective, is 50 Black-owned women businesses. Each of them have over $1 million in gross annual sales.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful. So that
Absolutely.
puts them in the 0.05 of all small businesses.
Wow.
And I want them to come together to get money and get some contracts. And the visual of 50 Black women on one accord doing something powerful together and advocating not only how can I grow your business, but how can we create a pipeline of other Black women businesses to get to $1 million plus? How can we come together and make banks give us money? So for example, our big event that we're having this year is called the Beau and the Bankers. And we are literally inviting nationwide, regional, and CDFI, community development banks, to come and sit at the table with us. And we are going to report out. That's our stick.
Wow.
Is that we're going to say, hey, we gave you access to 60 Black women businesses. How many of them got loans?
Right.
What were their
Wow.
terms? And who did we invite and who didn't come?
Now this is going to be a paradigm shift.
I think it is.
Yes.
I am so
Definitely going to be a
excited
paradigm shift.
because this is what I do know for sure is you cannot make institutions change unless you shame them or sue them. So I'm not suing nobody,
Right.
but I will put them on blast in a very nice way. Like, oh, we invited the X, the Y, and the Z. They didn't accept our invitation.
Wow.
Who wants to do that,
Mhm.
right? And oh, they came, but they just throw a check. No. How many lines did we get
Right.
to scale these $1 million businesses to billion?
And when you say lines, you're referring to lines of credit?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Those for our listeners
Right,
who
sorry.
are
Not
not
any
as
other
savvy,
kind of line.
but
Yes.
that's okay.
The lines of credit. So, for example, there's so many ways to start businesses, and I know we're short on time, but a lot of businesses, you have to take out your personal, your house,
Right.
you know, a line on your house. You have to get your credit cards, right?
Right.
And we're
Your
saying
personal
that
credit.
these women, even though they're at $1 million plus, they are still having to leverage their personal assets in order to sustain their business. And that's not fair.
Right.
It's not right. And it is not going on with our other counterparts.
Mm.
They will have an idea and they get angels on an idea.